Hello, and thank you for showing interest in planning application 2023-00656, which is a planning application for a development agreement at 400 Sackville Drive in Lower Sackville. My name is Megan Backus. I'm a planner with Halifax Regional Municipality's Planning and Development Department, who's been assigned to manage this application through the planning process. This presentation will provide information on the development being proposed at 400 Sackville Drive and the municipal development agreement process. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. HRM acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. We would also like to affirm that we are in the decade for people of African descent. African Nova Scotians are a distinct founding people in our community who have been a key part of the Nova Scotian culture and history. We acknowledge that African teachings, strength, and perseverance continue to challenge and inspire our community. The purpose of this public consultation is information sharing. For HRM staff and the applicant to share information with you about the proposal, but more importantly, for you, the public, to comment and share your feedback with us. Please note that the feedback provided will inform the process and will form part of the public record. A summary of the responses received will be included in the staff report to Northwest Community Council prior to their decision on the proposal. No decisions on the application will be made at this stage. So what is my role in all of this? I'm the planner assigned to the case, meaning I manage the application through the planning process and its various stages, such as this one, the public consultation stage. I'm also the main point of contact for the applicant and the general public regarding the application. Lastly, I draft reports, negotiate with the applicant, and will ultimately make a recommendation to Northwest Community Council for their consideration on whether to approve or refuse the application. Now a bit of information about the development proposal itself. The applicant for this proposal is Fathom Studio, and they are seeking permission to enter into a development agreement with the municipality to construct a mixed-use development that would include a maximum of 199 dwelling units and 6,500 square feet of ground floor commercial space at 400 Sackville Drive, Lower Sackville. On the right of the slide is a rendering provided by the applicant illustrating the proposed development. Shown here is the subject property outlined in red. It is located on Sackville Drive, near the Sackville Drive and Pine Hill Drive intersections, and backs onto the Little Sackville River, which is shown on both images in blue. The site is approximately 3.13 acres, with approximately 270 feet of property fronting onto Sackville Drive. This is a photo taken from Sackville Drive of the existing building located at 400 Sackville Drive. It is a commercial/institutional building with multiple tenants, including a daycare, print shop, used car dealership, and a sleep clinic. If this proposal is approved, the existing building would be demolished. Now, a few more details about the proposed mixed-use development. The image on the right of the slide is a bird's-eye view site plan of what is being proposed on the site, with Sackville Drive to the right of the image and Little Sackville River on the left. The development would primarily consist of two buildings. Building A is the white building closer to the bottom of the site plan. It's an 8-story building with 105 residential units and approximately 2,084 square feet of ground floor commercial space. Building B is closer to the top of the site plan, and it's a 12-story building with 94 residential units and approximately 4,510 square feet of ground floor commercial space. These buildings would be connected by a 2-level underground parking podium. A landscaped open space is proposed between buildings for residents and visitors, and a walking trail is proposed behind the buildings to connect the development to Little Sackville River. Existing trees and vegetation surrounding the walkway would be retained. To find more details on the proposal and to take a closer look at the proposed site plan, please visit the planning application webpage, which will be shown at the end of this presentation. When a planning application is made, it is often enabled by planning policies, meaning that it was envisioned that development would happen here, and rules and guidelines were written to help shape what that development would look like. Planning in Halifax Regional Municipality consists of 3 levels of planning documents. It starts with the regional plan, which is very high level. It applies to all of HRM and identifies where population growth should occur and where investment of services like transit, piped water, and sewer should occur. The second level of planning policies is the community plan, otherwise known as the municipal planning strategy. This plan is focused on a specific geographic area of HRM and gets more detailed on what type of development should happen and where. Often, planning applications, which require approval by council, are enabled through policies that are written into this plan. The third layer and most detailed planning document we have is the land use bylaw. This outlines specific zoning and regulations that don't require special approval by council. As long as your proposed development meets the zoning rules, you can go get a permit without having to engage with the public. I've previously mentioned that the applicant is applying for a development agreement for their proposal, and you may be wondering what that is. A development agreement is a legal agreement between the property owner and the municipality to ensure that a site is being developed in a particular manner. It's a mechanism to control development of a property or area and will specify the standards and conditions that the development must adhere to. This site is within the regional urban service boundary, which means that it is serviced by municipally piped sewer and water. The property is split between 2 plan areas. The portion of the site closer to the street is within the Sackville Drive plan area. The portion closer to Little Sackville River is within the Sackville plan area. Because this is within 2 plan areas, it also has 2 zones and 2 community plan land designations. The site is zoned Pine Hill Cobequid in the Sackville Drive land use bylaw and P3 or floodplain in the Sackville land use bylaw. The site is designated PC or Pine Hill Cobequid in the Sackville Drive municipal planning strategy and designated FP or floodplain in the Sackville municipal planning strategy. The Sackville Drive Municipal Planning Strategy contains policy SS-4A, which is the policy that allows HRM planners to consider this development. These are images illustrating how the subject property is split between 2 plan areas that each have their own planning documents and regulations. The area in yellow is the Sackville plan area, and the area in purple is the Sackville Drive plan area. The subject property for this application is outlined in red, split between these 2 plan areas. All proposed development through this application is within the purple Sackville Drive plan area and outside of the floodplain zone and land designation. The only use being proposed within the P3 zone and FP designation is a walking trail that would allow residents to access Little Sackville River. As previously mentioned, policy SS-4A is the policy within the Sackville Drive Community Plan that allows staff to consider this application. The policy then lists all of the considerations planners should evaluate the proposal on before making a recommendation to council, which for this policy include orienting buildings to the street and pedestrian walkways, providing for commercial space on the ground floor and amenity space for residents, compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood, considering microclimate effects, for example, wind and shadowing, encouraging pedestrian level street activity and weather protection, building stepbacks to reduce visual impact of building height and mass, landscaping to enhance the development's aesthetic, highlight building entrances, and provide shade, incorporation of streetscaping elements and furniture, vehicular traffic circulation and access to minimize adverse effects to adjacent residential uses and street network, that significant natural and cultural features are to be identified and protected where appropriate, that lighting is to be designed to provide safety and visual appeal to the development while reducing impact on adjacent properties. Implementation policies in Policy I-5 of the Municipal Planning Strategy must also be considered. Implementation policies are more general policies that apply to development agreements and rezonings within a community plan. Policy I-5 requires staff to consider that the development furthers the intent of streetscaping guidelines relating to signage, architecture, landscaping, parking, and driveway entrances. The adequacy of services and infrastructure, for example, roads, water and sewer, schools, recreation, etc. The controls are placed to regulate land use, building size, traffic generation and access, open storage and maintenance, as well as any other planning concerns that come to light throughout the planning process. This chart outlines the different stages an application goes through in the planning process. We are currently in the public consultation stage. After public consultation, there will be further revisions and refinement to the proposal based on your comments and any outstanding items from internal review. Staff will then write a report and draft planning documents, including a recommendation to Northwest Community Council for their consideration. Northwest Community Council will then make a decision on whether to approve or refuse the application during a public hearing, at which members of the public can voice their feedback directly to Council before that decision is made. Thank you very much for listening and showing interest in this proposal. For more opportunities to learn more and provide your feedback, we ask that you 1. Visit the application webpage to view the submitted materials, which go into further detail on the proposed development. 2. Attend an open house on September 4th, anytime between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. at Acadia Hall at 650 Sackville Drive, Lower Sackville. The applicant and myself will be available at the meeting to discuss the application in more detail, answer your questions, and take your feedback. Number 3, you can email or call me, Megan Backus, at the contact information listed on this slide anytime before September 11th, 2024. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.